Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Duckville here. Welcome to a very lengthy replay cast we'll be going through today. Should be a lot of fun. It is a Zerg versus Terran. I found this one on SC2. Wait, what is it? Oh god, I forgot what the name of it. Drop.sc. I just totally forgot what the name of it was there. But just patrolling around on Drop.sc. Sometimes find some replays on there that are really interesting. And this one. Well, I'm sure, as you can see on the timeline bar down there on YouTube, it's a little bit of a lengthy one. So, you know, I do understand a lot of people aren't big fans of long games, but this one it's a little bit of an intriguing one. And what we'll do, just so you guys know, before we get too far into it, there are some kind of boring parts, and for one of the very few times in one of my casts, I'm going to fast forward through some of it, because I don't want you guys to have to sit there and say, well, nothing's happening, because I did double check the replay before we have started this cast, and yeah, it does get a little bit sketchy at some points, but it's the overall feel of this kind of long game that I really like to look into, and we'll talk about some of the various you know, the various things about the strategies used in long-term games and how you can sort of add this into your own kind of gameplay, if you will. So we'll be going over all sorts of things through this entire replay. So our Grandmaster Zerg player, this is on the EU server. Our Grandmaster Zerg, up on the top right hand side of Neo Planet, is from Old School Clan, I believe the team is Nogard. And we'll see what he gets up to here with a hatchery coming out first. Meanwhile, his Terran opponent, who is just scouting him out now, looks to be going for his own very fast expansion here, is ThunderFury. Now, ThunderFury is also a he's a high Masters player, not Grandmasters like Nogard, but it's not to worry. I'm sure it'll be a pretty damn good game regardless. I suppose you guys can sort of figure that out by the fact that it goes for such a long time. So, I did poll on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, should I cast this game? And I kind of figured, you know what, I want to do this one a little bit more for me, more so than it is for you. I know that sounds really selfish, but this one, for me, as you guys will all know, I really like long games. When it gets to sort of 30 minutes plus, things can get really interesting, and it can be a big factor of your compositions, how you utilize your money and your minerals and your gas and all these kinds of things, because when you get to later game stages where things can be very much mined out, it can be a question of, do I have the right units? Do I have the right composition to be able to last through the end game? And will I be able to take down my opponents? So these are all very important things here. We can see that ThunderFury has got double workers in each of these gases here, so it looks as if he will be going up to a factory play shortly after the Rax finishes. No doubt about that one. But he is just slowly bringing in those minerals here. As we can see, we're going to get no units out just for the moment. I'm not sure. Was that intended that he wanted? Yeah, it looks like it is intended to have the 2-2 in there. But before we get too far into the game, of course, thank you guys for tuning into my DreamHack Valencia stream that I was casting. Big thanks to the DreamHack folks who let me on board to help out with that. It was a lot of fun. Got to cast some really cool games. And if you want to see some of the games, if you missed them, they are there on the channel. So please do, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and make sure you jump on and have a look at some of those games. I did mention on Facebook, if there is a lot of content, and I know in general in the StarCraft 2 community there is a lot of content out there to watch, and it can be very hard to keep an eye on what's going on and everything that's happening these days. But if there is a single game that you watch and you say, well, Duckville, I'll give you one game, watch Morrow versus Ghost of User, game number 2 on Star Station. It's linked in there in the channel. In fact, I might put it up as the featured game there, because it is such a wonderful game to watch, and I was really impressed by both players. In fact, it was not just a one-sided event. It went both ways for a very long time, and I was really impressed by the way that both of those guys went through that. So ThunderFury, as we mentioned, is going to be going up to a couple of Hellions. It looks as if we may even get, I believe this is going to be some kind of Banshee play, just based on the fact that we've got the Rax moving across, building a tech lab very quickly. Starport also coming out. So this is going to go a little bit old school here. Of course, for those of you who were around before Heart of the Swarm was released and had a little bit of Wings of Liberty action, I know the Terrans will be aware of this build. It's a Hellion Banshee play that looks to be coming out. Yeah, he's going to switch that across and bring out a couple of Hellions, couple of Banshees and maybe get some damage done. But this is something a little bit more old school that you rarely ever get to see in the earlier parts of Heart of the Swarm, just due to the fact that, of course, Hellbats were wonderful units. I personally still think they are, and I think people need to keep that in mind, that they still do quite a lot of damage. But also Widowmines and these kinds of things put Banshees on the back burner, and it was kind of a why should I spend 200 on Cloak just to get a couple of Banshees out that don't actually always do that much, and then, you know, you've got the cost of the Banshees as well to factor that in. So it's a kind of play that rarely, like, sorry, the units were rarely ever seen, but just because of the fact that you know, it was a little bit more of a cost-effective investment to go into Hellbats and mines and those kinds of things. So we do see a little bit of a different play now after the patch, where the Banshee Cloak got buffed, I suppose, with the cost being reduced. But Nogard, he's going to have some roaches out. He's going to be able to defend against the Hellions, at least on the ground. We can see that he does have a total of 4 Queens out, a couple of them over here at the third base. A relatively quick third base here for Nogard, but he is aware that his opponent went for a pretty damn quick CC, and as the Banshee approaches, we'll see what this guy is able to do, because the roaches are now making their way across. Of course, Nogard is going to identify that Banshee is out. He'll know he needs to set up a couple of Spore Crawlers, and does exactly that. The first of the Spore Crawlers is over here in the third base. There is another one over at the natural as well. +1 to missile and carapace attacks are now starting. Missile attacks and carapace armor is now starting up, so it looks as if Nogard will be just sort of transitioning into a little bit more of sort of an anti sort of ground force. But the Hellions come through. It looks like they're going to get a lot of damage done. The drone's not even attempting to escape right there. One of the Queens is getting very low. Great transfuse from Nogard, and he is going to keep those 2 Queens alive to fight another day. But we can see that 10 workers have been killed off, so we can see that ThunderFury is getting quite a decent amount of damage done. And these Banshees, while they won't necessarily be able to get too much further damage done in here in this third base, they will be able to delay some of that creep spread. Always good to kill off some of the creep tumors that are around. One of them very lucky to still be alive. In fact, the Banshee shot missed because they went into their invisible state before the Banshee shot was able to hit. But anyway, we can see now the roach speed is now starting up. +1 to missile and carapace is just over halfway done, and our Terra player is going to stick around for the moment. Not enough DPS here from this single Queen to be able to deflect these Banshees, so he's going to continue to harass. And the secondary Queens now come along from the third base, will deflect one of the Banshees, taking out one, and the other will get out of there pretty quickly, just because he wants to get out of danger for now. But back at home for our Terran player, we can see that ThunderFury is going straight up into mech. We've got +1 to vehicle weapons and ship and vehicle plating being upgraded right now. Third command center being built as well, and he is going to have an easily defended position here with lots of tanks out, a few Hellions as well. And you know, these roaches are not going to get anything done, because if it wasn't bad enough with the Banshees out already, then, you know, tanks are just going to ruin the day. So we can see that our Terra player is going to move into a composition that is very, very strong, but I kind of feel like it has lost a lot of its power compared to what it was back in Wings of Liberty, just due to the fact that if a Zerg player identifies that it is some mech play coming out, all they need to do, set up some Swarm hosts, get some Vipers as well. If you watched WCS America, we get to see there were a couple of games in season number 1 where Moonglade was actually playing up against Maker in the round of, I believe it was 16, and he was actually able to just easily crush Maker's Terran mech play, just due to the fact that Swarm hosts are very powerful. You can utilize them. They're free units, can slowly, I suppose in a way, siege up the siege tanks and attack into them. They can deal with Thors very well as well, and you know, it can also be something that is helped out by Vipers with their blinding cloud. But we can see that drops have been upgraded by Nogard. He's going to try and take advantage of the immobility of mech. We can see now that our Terran player has decided to move out into a position to try and secure his third base, but the big issue is that there are going to be a lot of roaches now dropping in. Presumably they're going to just come straight into that main base here, and yeah, Nogard is just going to say, well, you're going to be moving out a little bit. He doesn't know exactly where all those units are, but he can presume that with the third base going up, he is going to be a little bit out of position here. But the Overlord's now dropping in. The big Doom drop is making its way through, dropping out some roaches here, wants to try and get as much damage on the production facilities as possible. You don't necessarily necessarily need to target down SCVs in this case. It does help to take them out, but as you can see, if he can remove quite a lot of these tanks, take down the factories as well, the game is basically his right here. But we'll see, because the Roaches are now sort of moving into a very clumped up position. The Banshees up in the sky are going to help out with these units. Interesting to see that Nogard brought along a couple of Queens, but they do get taken down due to the lack of detection here. And Nogard, well, he has gotten a decent amount of damage done. 12 workers killed in total, not too bad at all. Some Roaches still alive, picking away at some of these tanks. But I think that overall he is going to be deflected here without doing the sort of maximum potential damage that he would have wanted to. But we can see that there are still some units out the front here. A single Queen is just sitting up the front trying to take down a turret. It's not every day you get to see that. But some Banshees inside the main will look to clean up the last of the Roaches here. The tanks coming along. A Thor at the back as well. And ThunderFury should be secure here. His worker count, however, has been cut down to 38. Not a huge amount of SCVs here for the Terran player, and we'll see what he's going to do, because he is looking to move across to the top base here. I think... What was the plan there? Was he looking to take the top left instead of this left side? But either way, he's going to bring it all back, and as you can see, for Nogard, he's going to take advantage of, again, another facet of mech is that you can take bases all over the place. Generally speaking, mech is a very slow, it's just sort of methodical kind of style, where you've got these big, heavy Thors, you've got tanks that need to siege and unsiege to move about, and, you know, the only thing that ThunderFury has up his sleeve right now are these two Banshees, but unfortunately the Banshees, are they going to... Oh, they do actually spot it, and he should be able to take out that hatchery, or at least force the cancel. But Nogard, I do like the idea here. He's going to take some... take multiple expansions, get his 2-2 upgrades going, and is going to move into what looks to be a swarm host composition very soon. We can see he is also adding in Groove Spines and the Muscular Augments, wants to make sure that he has the potential for some Roach Hydra action, because those units are also relatively decent against sort of lower sort of level mech armies that don't consist of too many tanks. Maybe have a little bit of a higher composition of Hellbats and maybe some Thors and that kind of stuff. Roach Hydra does okay against that. I'm not saying it's the best, but it can buy you some time to get out the more powerful units, such as the Swarm Host. So Nogard is going to be getting out 7 Swarm Hosts for now. 2-2 is on the way. More Queens also being built up, and that is a little bit of a sign. The extra Queens coming out is a really good sign here that, well, of course he does have to repopulate his injects and these kinds of things that are now just only coming out right now, but he also needs to make sure that he has some Queens out for injects, because transfuses, because transfuses are very strong, and they can really help you out in buffering against lots of tanks, lots of Hellbats, and the Thors that all come out from this mech composition. So we'll see what Nogard is going to do. It looks like he is going to move across towards the third base. ThunderFury does know that this is coming. A couple of Swarm Hosts are going to set up shop and just start to slowly pepper this base with some of those Swarm Hosts. The Roaches got absolutely annihilated, and it looks like the Swarm Hosts will back off for the moment, just keeping them very mobile. I do like, this is my favorite kind of Swarm Host play, people being very mobile with them, and I think on a map like this, where you have multiple avenues of attack, where you can push through across to the left side here and attack your opponent, then maybe move through the center section here, send off some Locusts across this area as well, maybe try and attack into this base if it eventually gets taken by ThunderFury, and you can really put your opponent to the test. It really tests a Terran, if they're going for mech, as to whether they can defend multiple points of entry. So it looks like the Banshees have somehow found a little bit of a sweet spot over here at the fourth base of Nogard. I don't think they're going to be able to kill it. This Spore Crawler should finish up in time. A couple of others are going to try and move across and re-burrow here as well. But they will force that back for the moment. The other hatchery down at the bottom right-hand side is also getting some really good work done. But Hellbats have made their way into the third base. They've roasted up quite a lot of the drones, up to 26 worker kills here for ThunderFury. Has done an excellent job with that. The Hellbat just going to town on this hatchery. I don't think they're going to be able to kill it, though. Too many Queens now coming across. There are 7 Queens here. In fact, 8 Queens in total in this mixture for Nogard, and it looks as if the hatchery is very low, but isn't going to go down. Meanwhile, we can see that ThunderFury is still dealing with a few Swarm Hosts. Pesky Swarm Hosts across from the side. Multiple entry points. This is exactly what we're talking about. Coming in from here, and also from the side as well. So, while Nogard is actually doing a really good job of just sort of maneuvering his units about, we would like to see just a little bit more usage of some of these Swarm Hosts. Perhaps even taking 3 of these, taking them across to the opposite side of the map, just positioning them out here to send in some swarm hosts across on this southern flank of the Terran side of the map, because, as we said, if you try and abuse the fact that Terran players have to, they either set up shop and they have a lot of tanks in the same position, and they can just annihilate anything that comes across a ridge like this, they will do that every time. There's no question about that. But if they have to spread their tanks out very thinly, chucking up a couple across these sorts of areas here where they have to defend these kind of points, then that can really put them to the test. But as we can see, some Hellbats have made their way across to the third base yet again. Somehow they have just walked their way over the hatchery. What? Where's... The Queens are the only real defense here, but they're not going to make it. The hatchery goes down to 2 of these Hellbats. And that is, well, that's a little bit of an unfortunate loss there for Nogard. I think just a little bit sloppy to not have some static defense set up, some spine callers, these kinds of things. We're at the point of the game where he does have some of these much higher tech units out, such as the Vipers. We've got lots of Swarm hosts out, a total of 13 here for the Zerg player. And now with lots of Queens out, he can slowly start to move in, perhaps siege up on this base and get some serious damage done. But what he does need to do is make sure that these kind of run-by attacks that occurred over here do not happen again. If you build up a nice force of units here, it's all well and good. But if you then lose all of your economy behind it, then that can put you in a very tough position, despite how strong Swarm hosts and Queens and of course Hydras and Vipers can be. So Nogard needs to be very careful about this. We can see that he is going to set up that third base yet again. Lots of tanks set up here at the third base of our Terran player. ThunderFury is now up to 2-2 on his upgrades with +3 to weapons now, just researching as well. Meanwhile, for our Terran player, 3-3 for his missile and carapace is just upgrading at the moment. Double Spire coming out as well, just to make sure that he does have the potential to switch into some airplay here, which can be very powerful. Of course, another kind of way to deal with mech is to get out some little bit old school, go for some Broodlords and perhaps even some Infestors and Vipers. It's very gas-heavy composition, but if you can get it out, it can be very, very strong. So we'll see if Nogard is going to go down that particular path. Was that a scan? Does he know? He's actually building up... ThunderFury is building up some Ravens now, and this is a sign of a player who identifies, alright, we're going to have to sort of transition into a little bit more of a mid to late game composition here, with the Ravens starting to come out there energy based, which means that they can just use energy to invest in attacking your opponent instead of something like a tank where it has a finite cost. It has that the cost of the minerals and the gas there, but as soon as that dies, then you've lost it. Whereas with the Ravens, if you use some of this energy, it's not something that will then just disappear. They'll never get their energy back. The Ravens can continuously send out harassment of these Hunter-Seeker missiles and these kinds of things, which can slowly start to gain you a little bit of a lead. So we'll see if our Zerg player is going to try and do something very similar. What I would like to see from Nogard are some Infestors coming out. They would be really handy to have the Infestors out on the field. Fungal growth, the Infested Terrans, these kinds of things. Something which you do see from time to time are Zerg players that will set up some Infestors, throw down some Infested Terrans to soak up the tank shots, and then the Locust can proceed through and try and actually get some damage done. So things like this are the kinds of things that you need to really start thinking about in these kind of in these mid to late game stages, where you have to be very cost effective with your units. And speaking of cost effective, Hellbats making their way across to the Zergs. What is that? That's like the 5th base down at the southern right hand side here. The Hellbats are now going to change their direction, moving across to the 4th instead. There is no static D on the ground here for Nogard, but he does have some Hydras just coming across. They are on their way through, but it looks as if ThunderFury is going to be able to get some decent damage done. The Hive here, the hatchery is in a little bit of trouble, down to around about 200 health there, and in fact the Hellbats are going to get a wonderful job there, just roaming across the map. ThunderFury is doing with these Hellbats, and he's doing a really good job of just harassing his opponent continually while holding out against this big composition of Swarm hosts on the top left hand side. So we can see now that there are 16 Swarm hosts in total. Hunter-Seekers now coming out, targeting down some of the Swarm hosts there. They move into position and blast apart a lot of those Swarm hosts there, down to 11. It's only a loss of 5, and I mean, at this stage of the game, like when we're looking at the banks here, Nogard has got a huge amount of gas present, 3,000 gas, not too many minerals coming in, but he has a lot of gas available. He is going to invest in another 8 Swarm hosts. As I said, I kind of feel like some more Vipers and or some Infestors would be really helpful here. We'd also love to see some more static defense just at the front. The thing about Swarm Hosts is that you can put them in a position like this and they can be really, really deadly. But if a player decides to move out, if let's say these Ravens are able to catch out some of the Vipers and the Queens and are able to get some good shots down, you can move forward and just blast it apart with a mech army. A mech army is incredibly strong. Very cute to see the Viking flower here from ThunderFury. He's just going to sit out to the side here. Looks like these Vipers, they can't see the flower just yet. In fact, they should be able to. But if he moves into position here, he might get sniped apart by those Vipers. By the Vikings. And there we go. In fact, speaking of sniping, nicely done by ThunderFury. Excellent work to be able to target down those Vipers there. Takes them out. However, down at the southern side of the map, we can see that Nogard is now going to move in to try and take care of this fourth base. That has been set up by ThunderFury. Roaches, Hydras all coming through, trying to get some damage done, but unfortunately there is a little bit too much defense here with the Planetary, a couple of tanks, and even a couple of Hellbats spread across for our Terran player. So Nogard, he does have a few of these drones that are sitting out to the side, not really doing too much, but I do like the fact that he is using these multiple attacks. However, Swarm Hosts, you have a lot of Hunter Seeker. Oh wow, are you serious? Not a single Hunter Seeker got out there. That's really interesting. I thought they were a little bit quicker than that, but he does decide to switch it up, get some auto turrets out instead. These guys are really helpful in defending not only on the ground, but also they can help defend Ravens in the air. You throw some of these auto turrets down, they don't do a massive amount of damage, but it's 8 at a range of 6, air and ground at 0.8 per second. So a shot every 0.8 seconds, so that's not actually too bad. It's a little bit similar to a Marine in a way. But now we can see that ThunderFury has an interesting composition. We'll go over the units that these players have. We've got 19 tanks out for our Terran player. Just 6 Hellbats, just sort of randomly splayed across the map, trying to move into positions to be able to take down some of these units, maybe a couple of hatcheries or 2. We also have 15 Vikings up in the air, 15 Ravens up in the air, and along with that, a couple of Thors are also out, just to help out with the possibility of a big air switch from our Zerg player. Now, for ThunderFury's economy, we can see that he does have 42 SCVs, always, that's a nice number. You may look at that and you think, wow, that's only 42 SCVs, but you know what, he does have a lot of orbitals. We can see lots of orbitals just sort of splayed about the map right now. A couple of planetaries down at this 4th base, so he doesn't need a lot of SCVs. The only real thing he needs the SCVs for is the gas income, which he is struggling a little bit for, but I mean, it's not too much of a deal right now. Meanwhile, for our Zerg players, we can see we have 17 Swarm Hosts out on the map in a few different positions here, just trying to make sure that he does have the potential to attack at different angles. It looks like Nogard has finally gotten out 10 Infestors, a nice addition here. As I said, energy-based units are extremely powerful in the latter stage of a game. We can see 6 Corruptors are also out, a possible switch into Broodlords maybe coming here from our Zerg player. Viper count has been reduced. As we saw before, the Vikings were able to deal with them very quickly, and it looks as if some Hunter Seekers are going to find some of these Swarm Hosts down on the bottom side here, blasting them all apart. Very nicely done by ThunderFury there, able to take advantage of the fact that his Terran opponent is, his Zerg opponent is trying to move about the map to get some multiple attacks done, and it looks as if some, the Infestors, I don't like that kind of usage of them. I think you want to be using these Infestors to catch out the Ravens, fungal them down, because then the Terran player is in a lot of trouble. But now we can see that more Hunter Seekers now coming out for ThunderFury. Get some decent damage done, takes out, I think that was 1 Infestor that went down, but some good transfuses from Nogard, keep a lot of his units alive. So, and as I was saying before, the unit count is also, we've got a couple of Hydras out, a few Roaches as well, but other than that, it is mostly in the Infestors, the Swarm Hosts, and the Queens here for Nogard. So, he's sort of establishing a position here, but it's really hard for him. His economy is dying out. He's lost the main, lost the natural. The 3rd base and the 4th are both starting to get a little bit low. The 3rd in particular, of course, because we have had this mining for quite a long time. But he does have the 5th down at the bottom right-hand side. Now, the big thing is that Neoplanet S, when it gets to a certain point, these 2 bases in the middle are the really big factors of this game, because if you can take one of these and then sort of protect it properly, you can put yourself in a wonderful position. So I would like to see one of these guys like to possibly start to move through, but the big problem is that they've got such turtly armies, so many tanks, so many Ravens, the Vikings as well, lots of turrets are just sort of placed around to try and catch out any units that might come across, like burrowed infestors or anything like that. And for our Zerg player, we can see that he's set up his own line of defense here. Lots of Swarm Hosts, lots of infestors and these kinds of things. Double Hunter Seekers coming out, taking out one of the infestors. Nicely done. Another Hunter Seeker will come out to try and take care of that Swarm Host, but a nice transfuse saves the day there for Nogard. It keeps that Swarm Host alive. So, as we said earlier, late game, pretty much after 30 minutes, and especially in a turtle-y kind of game like this, where both players are just sort of saying, you know what, come at me, bro. It's a very stagnant sort of game that does start to move into these kind of situations where the Zerg player is sort of sitting here and he's saying, well, I can't really move into this. There's too many tanks. They've got 3-3. They do, 65 damage. They do so much against armored targets. And then, of course, against these standard targets, they do 44 as well. And, I can't really do much against that. So I'm going to have to start thinking really creatively. Going to have to use some of these energy-based units as well. And we'll see how Nogard is going to go about that. Meanwhile, for the Terran, he's sitting here and he's saying, well, I have a ridiculously strong army. Tanks and Thors and Hellbats, oh my. But the Ravens in the sky, the Vikings are there as well, but the thing is that this army is only strong when it's standing still. You cannot just sort of barge your way up a hill like this into the Locust, into the static D that's over here as well. You could get fungled. A couple of sexy fungals on the top of the hill here will make for a bad day for our Terra player. So this has put him in a very tough position. And I mean, I think if anything right at this point, a lot of players will sort of say, well, one thing about Swarm Hosts is that you can go around them. This is kind of like a TvT mech battle in a way, because this is basically a battle of the slow-moving, sieging units here. And, wow, beautifully done by ThunderFury. Takes out quite a few of those Swarm Hosts there. But, and now as we can see, Nogard is going to say, well, I'm going to get out some units that may help me out. With the Broodlords coming out, they will have a couple of decent upgrades. They've got level 2 on their air weapons, level 1 on the Carapace as well. A couple more Hunter Seekers now coming out. Will they be able to target down the Infestors? Ooh, they get one. Not too bad at all for ThunderFury there. The supply count still up at a maxed out position here. 200 for everybody. Hunter Seekers now coming out. Get another couple of really good kills there. Wonderfully done by ThunderFury to be able to take out those infestors. Now, back at home, of course, we can see that both players are sitting on a very sizable bank. Nogard with a nice amount of minerals and gas, whereas our Terran player is sitting on a huge amount of minerals, but not so much the gas. Only around about 2,000 gas at this point for him. So his remax is going to be a little bit different. What we may see coming out of ThunderFury very soon is just a move into Hellbats, sort of utilizing Hellbats to roam about the map. And I think we haven't actually had Blue Flame upgraded. I really think that ThunderFury should upgrade his Blue Flame right now. Maybe get out a couple of medevacs. He may be able to sort of find some sweet spots to dive through the backside here, get into some of these bases, take out some of the drones, and maybe snipe down some of his opponent's mining, and then he can slowly sort of claw his way forwards and deal with this the free trade agreement army consisting of Broodlords, Swarm Hosts, and those infestors. So I think it's I think both players are in a really good position, but I don't think anyone is personally favored so much. It's more so that the bank looks a little bit better for Nogard, and we'll see, because he has now taken the gold base in the middle of the map here, bringing in that extra little bit of minerals, lots of gas as well. He's going to move across and try and take out the hatchery here, on the left side, and I think that's a little bit daring. There's no real way you're ever going to be able to take care of these tanks, because they're on the high ground. They'll never get taken out, and the drones will come along. So Nogard is trying to get some work done, but I mean, it's just so hard for him to be able to push into all of this. So many tanks, so much static defense. The turrets and all these things here are just going to hold him out for so long. And with the Raven count now up to a total of 27 Ravens, ladies and gentlemen. Not even kidding. 27 Ravens now out for our Terran player. That is a lot of Hunter Seekers. They do 100 splash damage upon contact. He's got point defense drones, which are unbelievably powerful in this kind of situation. And also the auto turrets. We can't forget those guys. They are very, very strong and helpful in dealing with things. So one thing which I have seen in a very long game that I casted way back on Newkirk City, I think it was a Terran player who dived his way into a line of spore crawlers like this, threw down point defense drones, and just came forwards and then said, you know what, auto turrets all over the place. And that, you know, that is a possible way that that ThunderFury could try and take advantage of his position here. I think that it'd be a good way to try and deal with this, because if he can throw down the point defense drones, they will negate a lot of these spore crawlers. If he can then put down the auto turrets or hunter seekers to try and deal with some of these swarm hosts, then he can slowly move the tanks up, move the tanks into a position here where he slowly starts to take ground off his opponent. But as we can see, Nogard is not going to keep that base alive for too long. 3 tanks will move along and deal with that hatchery. No problems, no questions asked, says ThunderFury. I'll have that base, thank you very much. But as I said, I do think he needs to make a move, because eventually a swarm host army, if utilized correctly, along with the infestors as well. Oh wow, Nogard is going to lose quite a few of his infestors here. Very nice targeting there by ThunderFury. But the infestor count is reduced to just a 6 right now. That's not the best of situations for Nogard. But as I was saying, the swarm host siege army can slowly take advantage of a player who is not really mining so much. As we can see from the income tab right now, the only mining that is coming in from ThunderFury is coming from this bottom, the bottom section base here, which is bringing in a nice amount of minerals and a little bit of gas. But I mean, eventually this is going to start to run dry, and that's where ThunderFury could be in a little bit of trouble, because his opponent does have the base up at the top left. The bottom right is just about mined out, but it is still mining for the moment. He also has the gold base, and I think that yeah, things are looking very good for our Terran player here, but for our Zerg player. But as you can see, Hunter Seekers coming out, a ridiculous amount of Hunter Seekers coming through, taking out a few of the queens, even a couple of those swarm hosts as well. And Nogard loses a little bit of his supply, takes him down to 184, but he does have still quite a bit of a bank. He can remax, he can either get out some more broodlords, but as I said, I would love to see more infestors come out. I think at this stage, despite the infested Terran nerf, infestors are still very strong in this kind of situation. As we said, decoy infested Terrans can be thrown out. Fungal growth, if a fungal growth catches even just like a quarter of these ravens that are out, then it could be good game right there for ThunderFury. So I think just, yeah, and even investing in some smart tech here, getting the Neural Parasite out, finishing up +3 to Carapace, Nogard, just making sure that he is dotting all his I's and crossing his T's there. Thor has randomly made its way across the map and has been taken out by some of these infested Terrans. It looks like the infested count is still sitting at 6, not too bad. I mean, as we said, I'd probably like to see that at around about 12, 14, even up to 15 somewhere, just because it really helps out, because as we said, we've said time and time again, late game, energy units are king, because you can utilize them without needing to mine more minerals. So, ThunderFury, we did have BC tech starting up. The fusion core is done, and the Behemoth reactor is also complete, but he hasn't been able to switch into the battle cruisers yet, just because we're sitting on a nice army already of tanks, the Vikings, and those Ravens. I don't know, I kind of think like perhaps he can sacrifice a few of his tanks to try and get a few BCs out, because with proper usage of point defense drones, and if the Vikings can snipe down the Corruptors, I think BCs will be a very powerful addition here. But now, as we can see, Hunter Seekers now coming out, Broodlords are moving into a little bit of a too close position here, getting taken out by a lot of those Hunter Seekers. Oh wow, some of the Hunter Seekers even splashing on some of the Terran units there. Not good for our Terran player, but Nogard has been able to grab a few more Broodlords. It's going to continue to keep those guys out. But as we can see, it is a battle of energy down here, with the auto turrets coming out, some infested Terrans battling with each other. It's a battle of the you know, the no cost units right there. So it's a really weird position for this game right now. As I said, I think our Zerg player is in a little bit more of a favorable position, but we do need to see some more of these energy units, and he is going to bring out some Vipers, so we'll have some more of those guys added onto the field. Another thing, yeah, he's doing this right now. Another thing I'd like to see from Nogard is the addition of some more static defense. He does not need to sit here with virtually no defense in the middle section here. Even some more up at the top side. As I said, you should be able to get a medevac through this side part here without being taken out by any of those spore crawlers. And I mean, while it's a little thing to take out one of these bases, if ThunderFury can slowly make his way up here, he may be able to take this base and sort of keep it for himself himself right now. As we said, he's limited for gas at the moment because of the cost of Ravens, the cost of Ghosts that are now coming out. BCs are also being added in. So 2 types of energy units are now being added in for our Terran player. And I think with that addition, he's going to perhaps bring himself into a little bit more of a favorable position right now. Because if he can get some EMPs, some snipes, he may be able to get some really good damage done here. But as I said, I just kind of feel like it's a little bit more in Nogard's favor just for the time being. But it looks as if he does have some more Vipers out. More Infestors will probably come out soon. I would hope to see some more Infestors. But now for the moment, the Infestors just going to make their way forwards, clearing out some of those turrets. I don't think that was needed at all, Nogard. There's no need to deal with the turrets in that fashion. He could have just snuck past them. But as you can see, down at the bottom edge, we've got ThunderFury. He's mined out. There is no more mining coming in for our Terran player here. It is all drying up. Lots of gas is still coming in. There is a little bit left over, just a couple of hundred here at this base. I mean, but every other base is now dried up for our Terran player ThunderFury here. And we'll see how he's going to deal with this, because soon his bank of gas is going to dry up. He is going to need to start building up some Hellbats. One thing which I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't prepare for, is a possible bio switch. Now, we've spoken a little bit about how energy units are very, very effective here. These the battle cruisers, the Ravens, even even these Ghosts that are now coming out, they're very effective units in the late game stages. But when you have a lot of a bank, sometimes a surprise Marine switch can actually catch your opponent out. You could dive in with a lot of Marines, try and take care of some of these bases, maybe get this gold base if possible. But, I mean, it's a little bit late for these kind of things now. It could have been helpful a little bit earlier, but I mean, we did see that this has been a very, very turtley kind of game from both of these players. So ThunderFury is now added in, those Ghosts. They are going to be really helpful here. Nice to see them added in. But Nogard has a lot of Corruptors. He has 3-3 on his Corruptor upgrades, which can really help out in dealing with those BCs. If they throw down a good Corruption on the Battlecruisers and even some of the Vikings, then these guys could seal the deal here. We also have the Vipers for Blinding Cloud, Abducts, and all these kinds of things. The Broodlords can slowly siege up some of the various Terran positions here, and the Yamato Cannon is now being added in for those Battlecruisers. So these guys can be very strong. Nogard slowly sniping out a couple of these units here. If he can abduct a couple of Ravens at a time, take them down, then he may be able to actually get a nice position to be able to sort of slowly siege forward. And this is, as we said, a very siege-ish kind of game right now, as we can see ThunderFury struggling for anything. He has no more income. Not a single thing is coming in for our Terran player. Our Zerg, as we can see, mined out at the bottom right, basically mined out in the center gold section here, and the top left is the only real mining base on this map right now, apart from this this gold, which is protected by a couple of tanks. He's like a dog with a bone. He's just saying, nope, you cannot have this one. I am going to keep this one. Even if I can't have it, you can't have it, sir. And have at you for that. So ThunderFury, I don't know, as I said, with the correct usage of some of these units, Nogard should be able to win this. Like, I feel like Blinding Cloud, some Abducts, and some Infested Terrans. Where are those Infestors? There they are. Some Infested Terrans and these kinds of things can be really good. They can possibly do this, but you have to be extremely careful with the usage of all of these things. And ThunderFury may start to utilize his Yamato Cannon here. But as you can see, some Abducts coming out. Ravens, will they go down? The Ravens' point defense drone is extremely strong. Now pushing forwards, a couple of point defense drones go up. We can see the Hunter Seekers will probably come out in a second, but most of these Ravens are actually out of energy. There is nothing available there, so he's thrown down a couple of point defense drones. Some Hunter Seekers come out, but the tanks are not moving. If there is any time that ThunderFury has to try and push up against this Zerg and maybe take this game, it is now. But unfortunately, he has not been able to get anything done. And the tanks just sat back and said, you know what, we're having lunch. I cannot be bothered going to work today. So, I don't know. I feel like that is a bit of a losing position here for ThunderFury. I mean, there was no need to sort of keep these units back. He could have slowly 1-8 forwards with the tanks, even some Hellbats that may start to come out very soon as his gas is starting to get low. But I mean, that was a really good time for him to move forward, I feel. If he can take out some of this Static D, the 6,000 Spore Crawlers that are sitting out here, maybe get rid of some of these Queens, some of these Swarm Hosts, and even if he was just to sort of take a position out here, that can put him in a good position to move down and take his own gold base in the center section here, which may be able to put ThunderFury back in the race for this game. But I still just kind of feel this is This is a game that Nogard has within his grasp. It is a very tough game, no doubt about that, but it is something which I feel like he could certainly use. But some snipes come out, nicely utilized there. Good snipes are able to take down a lot of units there, get rid of some of the queens, and then get out of there as quickly as possible. Something you don't really get to see too often, ladies and gentlemen. The ghosts utilizing their snipe ability, which is something which really rarely ever happens these days, just because of the nerf to snipe. Back in the day, if you don't know what I'm talking about, snipe used to actually do a lot more damage. I believe it was 50 damage, was it? I think it was 50 damage in total per snipe. And you'd used to see Terrans in TvZ with just mass ghosts, basically. There was some famous games on Metropolis featuring MVP, where he just had a joke amount of ghosts and would just snipe down ultras and things like infestors and broodlords and these kinds of things, and it would just be like, well, what do I do against that? Which is why we did see a change to the ghosts to their snipe ability. Some Hunter Seekers will come out. They will deal with a couple of these broodlords here, cancelling them and then destroying them. Nicely done by ThunderFury, but Nogard still has control of the air for now. One Swarm Host back on the opposite side of the map is just sitting here. He can't actually get out. There's no way for this Swarm Host to get through. Yeah, there's no space over here, and there's no space up here. So one Swarm Host sitting off to the side. Let's have a look at the compositions of these two players. We've got 31 Corruptors out for our Zerg player Nogard. He's got 3 Broodlords, also just randomly about the map right now. They've got really good upgrades, but they can't really push. Too many Vikings, too many Ravens. 8 Swarm Hosts are out. 6 Infestors. These are very key units. I keep saying it time and time again, I know, but these are very key units, I feel, in this particular game. Meanwhile, for our Terran player, lots of Ravens, 23 Ravens still out, 5 Ghosts, a single Battle Cruiser, 16 tanks. I feel like bleeding off some of these tanks would have been very helpful earlier on, but unfortunately he has been stuck with the tanks for a very long time, meaning that the Battle Cruiser count could not rise, and that is a little bit of trouble there for ThunderFury. But the one Battle Cruiser, we said before, energy is key to late game. And ThunderFury has this this single battle cruiser, a few of these Ravens as well, which are all very much energy based. But I mean, he doesn't have as much firepower, I feel, as a Zerg player. So we'll see. There are 13 Vikings out, 10 Hellbats have now been added in, and of course the 2 tanks, which are 2 Thors, which are also there as well. So the Hellbat count will start to increase for our Terran player, adding in a few turrets as well, just to make sure that he is protected on each of the sides here. I kind of feel like this isn't exactly the best expenditure of some of these minerals here. The reason I say that is that this position isn't exactly as awesome as you think it is. There's no minerals, there's no gas or anything like that, and it means that he's kind of defending this for, well, I don't know. There's no real reason, but it's a good tactical position just because of this hill here, and of course that attack path up to the side. But it's not as if he's taking advantage of it. He's not pushing towards his opponent at all. We're not seeing the tanks slowly make their way up through this left side here. He didn't take advantage of the position that he had when he could have pushed over the hill with the tanks and the other ground units. So now his opponent is mined down. He's got lots of minerals in the bank, 18,000 minerals for Nogard right now, and around about 9,000 gas. So he has the potential to remax on just about anything at this point. And let's just look at the worker count. 47 drones are out for Nogard at this point. We can see the majority of them are over here at this base. And I kind of feel like just getting rid of these drones, it's highly unlikely he's ever going to take this base. But getting rid of those drones, maybe adding in some more infestors, possibly even grabbing some more Vipers and things like that as well, just so you can try and abduct more of these units. Because if Nogard can get rid of some of these Vikings, get rid of the battle cruiser, and then also take out some of the Ravens, the game is basically his. No matter how many tanks you have on the ground, they can't do anything against a possible switch into, you know, another 3 or 4 Broodlords up in the air. So I feel like, oh, we actually have a tank, Thor being assimilated down here. Assimilation is successful. Down at the bottom side, but the Thor did get rid of the infested there, so the 2 of these guys just roaming around, clearing out some creep. But, let's see what these Vipers want to do. They might try and snipe out. They might try and grab the Thors, maybe abduct them across and try get rid of them somehow. But it looks like the battle still rages up at the top. A couple of Hellbats pushing their way forwards. No more gas left for ThunderFury, so only Hellbats will be produced from now, I would assume. Hellbats and maybe some turrets or something like that. But we are now past the 1 hour mark. We're at 1 hour and 48 seconds. Thank you for sticking with it for now. If you have been, if you've skipped through, that's cool. I won't hold it against you. It's been a very long game. But some Hydras have now come out from Nogard. He said, you know what? I want some mobile Hydras. Not very often you get to say that Hydras are really mobile in this particular game, but that is the case. Blinding clouds go down to try and protect the Hydras as they approach the southern side. They will move forwards and actually take out a few of the turrets. Should be able to get some of these tanks as well. This base could be very much exposed down at the southern edge here, but Nogard decides to push in through this position here. I'm not sure if I like this, but he is going to move forwards. We'll see if he is able to deal with well, there's no real defense inside the main base, so ThunderFury is forced to pull a couple of his tanks. Some of the Hellbats also making their way down. Hunter Seeker missiles come out as well. A spider web of Hunter Seekers come out, blasting apart some of those Hydras. The Hydras will attempt to make their way down here, and you know, they can sit at the back here. They can be very pesky, but at this point, when your opponent can't actually really produce very much, it's not the biggest of deals to lose some of these production facilities. I kind of feel like keeping these Hellbats and these Thors alive is a little bit more important right now, but Nogard tries to target down one of the Thors, doesn't do it. Unfortunately for him, does lose most of those Hydras for virtually nothing. But as we can see, ThunderFury up to 24 Ravens, 5 Ghosts. We've got a single battle cruiser, 13 tanks, 13 Vikings, and 2 Thors and 2 Hellbats out of the map for our Terran player. Our Zerg Nogard from team, what was it called again? Old School Clan on the EU server has a lot of Corruptors. 35 Corruptors are out. We can see that there are 8 Swarm Hosts down in the ground, 4 Infestors. I feel like that's a little bit low, but that's alright. 2 Vipers are also out for our Zerg player. A single Queen and 19 Hydras. Just remaxing right now on some more Hydras here. These guys very mobile at this point, but also quite dangerous, because if they can move into a position, they may be able to take out this bottom base here, get rid of the Ghost Academy, take control of this position down at the southern side. But, oh wow, Battlecruiser gets assimilated here. Not very often you get to see that. Moves it into position out here, and the Corruptor say thank you very much, and the Spore Crawlers have some shots as well. So really, really good usage of this late game stage energy-based units here from Nogard. I do like the work he is doing right now, but now he is mined out. No gold, no base up to the top left. This map is done for. We can see that there are no minerals now coming in, and this is kind of the stage where it does start to get a little bit slow between these two guys. But what we'll do is we'll just keep an eye on a couple of things before we start to fast forward the game. Cancels up a couple of those Corruptors that were morphing in, and almost loses them. Lucky has those upgrades, very strong upgrades to help out with keeping those Corruptors alive. A couple of stray Corruptors moving across. So what we'll do is we'll just hang on. Let's just quickly, just firstly look at the APM of these guys. It's up there at around about 116 for ThunderFury, 130 for Nogard. In fact, we'll keep it on normal speed for the moment because these Hellbats are now pushing their way forwards. Hydras down at the southern side of the map, supported by a couple of Vikings who are ready, Vipers who are ready to throw down some Blinding Cloud. You can put that on top of the Planetary Fortress. Nicely done by Nogard. The Hellbats, however, have now pushed their way forwards. They're trying to get some damage done on this static defense. I feel like this is a good move. This is something that needed to happen a lot earlier. But now, with losing the southern side here, he loses a little bit of map control. ThunderFury will be not too upset. I mean, it's only a couple of planetary fortresses here that were basically defending nothing. But we can see now that some of the Hellbats will go down. The bank is now reduced to 3,800 for ThunderFury. Our Zerg player sitting up at 16,000 minerals, 7,000 gas. A lot is available here for Nogard, and I kind of feel like... you know, I said it before. I feel like if he makes the right moves, he can do this. He's got some supply. Get some Infestors. We need some Infestors out at this point, because the Infestors are what are going to make this game. Good control of some of these units. You have to have really, really strong micro to take advantage of some of these units here, like using the Broodlords to attack off the coast of the side here, where ThunderFury cannot reach. Drones coming forwards. They're going to try and snatch a few minerals here. I don't know if this is... I don't know. I kind of feel like it's only worth risking this gold if you can actually be sure that you're not going to lose the drones, because he doesn't want to reproduce drones at this point. He wants to keep the count of the units up at the similar sort of amount that it's at right now. But the tanks move forwards. They are going to re-siege here, take out quite a lot of the drones. Down to 35 drones is Nogard right now. He has moved a few of his Hydras down to the southern side of the map. As we can see, there is a little bit of creep spread still continuing to slowly push out from our Zerg player. It's incredible that at the 1 hour mark he's still moving some of his creeps slowly forwards. But now, with a lot of static defense going up, I think Nogard wants to slowly move his way forwards and take this base, but I don't know. It's really hard to call some of the decisions here at this late game stage. We're at the almost 1 hour and 10 minute mark, where both these players have been playing a really clever kind of turtle style. But I mean, it seems like it's very much in the bag for Nogard. He just needs to make the right decisions from here, get some infestors out, get some other units that may be quite helpful. Even, you know, even switch in a couple more Broodlords and then just slowly start to drop one Broodling off. Slowly chip apart these tanks, because ThunderFury cannot rebuild. The only thing he can rebuild right now, like I'm sure Nogard knows this, is that he can only rebuild Hellbats. He's just got a bank of minerals, and you know, Hellbats don't do that well against Broodlords. So we'll see what Nogard wants to do, slowly pushing forwards with some of these Hydras. The Hellbats getting caught out just a little bit there. What we'll do is we'll put it into fast forward, because things are a little bit slow at the moment. ThunderFury forced to lift up his orbital command just over to the side here. The swarm hosts, the 2 single swarm hosts off to the side, have moved in and have set up shop just off here, off to the side section, and they will take control of this base slowly but surely. The Locusts pushing in their 3-3 up, their 3-3 damage, 15 damage in total per acid spit. And we can see that more Locusts will continue to come from the bottom right-hand side as well, as we can see that Nogard is slowly going to make his way in. The Viking count has now been reduced to just 12. It's nowhere near what it used to be. The Corruptor count is still up at 32. Some Hunter Seekers will continually come out from our Terran player. They don't actually make it across to that Queen there. I'm a little bit surprised about that one. But as you can see, this is sort of where the game gets a little bit stagnant. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit for you guys, just so we can, you know, actually have a little bit of fun with this. We'll keep an eye on what's going on. Corruptors coming across, trying to get some work done on these Ravens. As we said before, if the Ravens go down, this game is pretty much done. But the Hunter Seekers will come out. They will die off, unfortunately for them. Not able to catch up with those Corruptors. Nicely done by Nogard. Slowly moving forwards and taking out some of the Ravens here. The Raven count now reduced to 24. The Corruptor count still sitting up at 27. But keep in mind that our Zerg player can remax on Corruptors if need be. He's got a lot of gas, he's got a lot of minerals here, and a spare 50 supply almost to invest if he needs to switch around into something. So I do like the position that Nogard is in. Creep spread is now is still going just a little bit. Well, I know there's actually just these couple of tumors over to the side, but Nogard could perhaps get up some queens, be able to get some queens going to help with injects to keep his Corruptors alive. But basically, ThunderFury, I think ThunderFury has decided at this point, I have to play out for a draw right now. He can't really push into what I've got. Point defense drones are too strong. The Vikings can also take down those Corruptors eventually, and he can't push in on the ground because I've got too many tanks. There is still a large total of 10 tanks out, along with the 5 Ghosts and a few Hellbats there as well. A few equals 26, just in case you were wondering. But yeah, as we can see, I think ThunderFury is just resigned to the fact that he has to force out a draw here. So we'll see how he's going to maneuver about, because slowly but surely, as we said, Nogard may be able to take an advantage here. But as you can see, things are still pretty slow for the moment. We've got static defense starting to make its way across here. I don't think this is going to be too protective here. Ravens could probably deal with that very easily. But now we can see some Hydras have made their way across to the top side, getting some damage done. May actually catch out those Vipers. Very nicely done there by ThunderFury. He is, you know, getting kills every now and then, and it's pretty decent, but he's not really sort of taking advantage of this position here. He does have a really tough composition to deal with his opponent, but I mean, it's possible. What is this Swarm Host doing? You're not a tank. There he goes. He moves forward, sets up shop there. A couple of Locusts will come out, get blasted apart by the tanks. Too many Hellbats here as well. So we're up to the 1 hour 18 minute mark. I'm going to put it on fast forward times 4. Hopefully my computer doesn't explode because I'm recording and fast forwarding pretty quickly here. But it looks like both players just trying to move into position to capitalize on the top section here. It's, maybe I should try and, like, commentate faster or something like that. But we can see now that the Corruptors continuously battling back and forward with those Vikings, trying to lure them into the range of some of these spore crawlers here. If he can slowly snipe down some of those Vikings, then he may be able to deal with those Ravens. But Ravens now throwing out some auto turrets there. I almost said auto attack drones, and I'm like, what the hell is an auto attack drone? But some more Hydras will come out. Another 18 Hydras have been built up. The Broodlords slowly moving their way down towards the southern edge of the map. Not really sure what the plan with them is. But the Hydras will move forward, clear out some of the auto turrets. And as we can see, the bank of ThunderFury is just about done. 1,000 minerals are available for him, and that is about it. And keep in mind, once the minerals are gone, there is no more repairing for our Terran player. So it'll be very interesting if we get to that point. The Hellbats move forward, take out some of the static defense, also the some of the swarm hosts that are here, but the Infestors come along. That is how powerful the Infestors are. He just removed a huge amount of those Hellbats there. And, you know, I feel like if there were more Infestors out earlier on, if there were more of them right now, he may be able to get some serious damage done. But we're now at the 1 hour and 25 minute mark, just trying to get ourselves through this sort of very slow, stagnant portion of the game. ThunderFury continually having to defend against these Hydras that are randomly making their way across the map. But for now, they're still able to maneuver about the Hydras, just looking to find a fight somewhere. Nogard reduced to 160 supply. He now has no more gas coming in. 37 gas left over for our Zerg player here. We have basically static defense and some free trade agreement units out for our Zerg player. We can see that he's got 36 Corruptors. There are 3 Broodlords out on the map, 6 Hydras, 36 Lings. He has no gas, but, you know, Lings aren't going to do anything at this point. Not a single thing that they could do. You could even argue that Lings would be a bad choice against Vikings at this point, because ThunderFury could drop these down. They've got 3-3, and they will shred apart those Lings very quickly. So, you know, I'm not really sure about that. But perhaps more Queens would have been a better idea from Nogard. But either way, we're up to 1 hour 30. Still continuing on in this game. I'm sure these guys are a little bit thirsty at this point. I know I am. But lots of Queens are now out for our Zerg player. We can see that he has 23 Queens out on the map. We can't neglect Queens. Transfuses, and of course just their ability to do a lot of damage. 12 on the air and 7 on the ground times 2. So that's you know, that's a nice amount of damage to be adding into any kind of army. Not to mention, as we said, the transfuses are going to be ridiculously helpful as the game progresses on. So the few remaining ghosts, 3 ghosts left over for ThunderFury. How much would a medevac help out right now? A couple of medevacs just out here, heal up the Hellbats, heal up the SCVs, even if you really wanted to. Heal up the ghosts, maneuver the ghosts around so they can start to snipe off some of these, maybe some of these buildings and these kinds of things. But geez, I really feel like a couple of medevacs would have really helped out by now. It's sort of like, so we have this position where it would have been nice to see some more Infestors out for Nogard, but for for ThunderFury, it's weird to say, but in a mech composition, he really could have used a couple of medevacs here just to help out in this late game stage here. And, you know, keep in mind, both those things, energy dependent units. They're very, very, very helpful in the late game stage. So we can see now, moving up to the 1 hour 39 minute mark, a bunch of Lings are now out for Nogard. He's not really doing too much. I think they have both kind of resigned to the fact that it's going to be a very tough ask to actually try and move in and get something done here. There are too many Corruptors in the air. There are too many, there's too much static defense on the ground for ThunderFury to deal with. The Queens can help out with their transfuses. There are also a couple of Broodlords, so it's not as if Nogard has no way to attack the ground. He has those Broodlords there. He has a lot of spines and spores out across the map. They're just about everywhere, as you can see down here as well. And despite both players having basically no bank available, it's tough position. They have to use these energy-based units. The Ravens, numbering 22, 3 ghosts out, 8 tanks, 11 Vikings, and 17 Hellbats. And it's, you know, as I said, I think this is very dependent on who wants to sort of Does someone want to take the risk of charging into their opponent's army? Can they take an advantageous position? I tell you what, it's not going to be the Zerg, because the Zerg player does not have the advantage of point defense drones. If anyone is going to make a move here, it is going to be ThunderFury. He has point defense drones, which really help out in pushing the limits of a battle. But I think we may be playing this one out to a draw here, guys, because this is just so hard for either of these players to take that risk, to say, can I risk moving a Broodlord forward? We have, you know, can I take the risk of moving a Broodlord forward to send one Broodling across to try and attack this door? Can I take that risk? Whereas our Terran player is sitting here and he's saying, can I move these Ravens out? There are still a couple of infestors. Actually no, there are no infestors out of the map. Wow. Okay. There are no infestors out, but I mean, you know, you take that risk. Can I move the Ravens out? Will I be able to keep them alive against the plethora of Corruptors that are out on the map right now? And that's this kind of position where Nogard is sort of saying, alright, I don't think he can push too far forwards. I'm going to move some creep forwards to give me a little bit of vision, give me some more creep spread as well. But it's a tough ask for either of these players to try and say, I want to move forward and I want to win this game, because they're both in a very strong position. Each of them, it's certainly possible for them to win. I feel like if anyone makes a move, it's going to be the Terran. If anyone is going to win, it's going to be the Zerg player, because with some good usage of his queens in particular, like, that's the thing. Like I said before, Nogard was in a really strong position when he had a lot of Infestors and Vipers out, but now he's got neither of each. And, you know, he's just got a single Swarm Host. One Swarm Host is not going to cut it at this stage. There's just not enough damage coming through. So, it's a weird sort of game, old StarCraft 2, where, you know, we've had this game that has sort of been in the favor of our Zerg player for so long, with this very turtley style from ThunderFury, has kept him afloat, and in a way has sort of put him in a little bit of a better position, but it's very much control dependent, decision dependent as well, based on can he get the PDDs out, can he get HSMs down, and, you know, can he maneuver any of these units into a good position. But yeah, I think this one's going to be a draw, guys, because there is just no way that either of these guys is going to make the decision to move forwards. Despite it being a ladder game and not the final of DreamHack Summer or something like that, I don't think anyone wants to take the risk of losing some of those ladder points. It's just, it's been such a back and forth kind of game, or a slow, methodical back and forth kind of game, where both players have had various positions of joy and various positions of despair this entire game, but it has gone for so long. Just about to pass the 2-hour mark in this replay, probably the longest replay I have ever cast. I don't know if it'll be the longest cast that I've done, because I am fast forwarding through it. But it is certainly going to be one for the ages here. The most turtley kind of game you will ever see in StarCraft 2, with both of these guys just starting to sit back and relax for the moment. I think what we might do is I'm going to take it up to ×8. I don't know. Actually, you know what? Yes, we will. We'll take it up a little bit faster. My computer will probably start to die right now, because I really need a new computer. But we're going to do it anyway, because I don't want you guys to have to sit back for ages and sit there doing absolutely nothing. A couple of ghosts still poking around. Ravens are going to try and clear out some of these creep tumors here. Of course, that does basically nothing to clear out those creep tumors right now. It does mean that that Nogard doesn't have as much vision across the map, but I mean, it's not really anything to bother about. It's not as if suddenly ThunderFury is going to run his way down through the southern portion of the map. But I mean, you know, the things we've learned in this game, you know, we talk about how to play against Swarm Host play. You either have to go around it, you can't go under it, can't go over it, have to go around it. Actually, sometimes you can go over it. Some people go like mass Sky Toss, Sky Terran with Banshees and Vikings and those kinds of things. But it is very hard to deal with the Swarm Host. They make it a very slow, turtley kind of game. And of course, a mech player who is using his tanks, has a large count of tanks. Unfortunately, he probably should have bled a couple of them away so we could get some more battle cruisers out to help out. And as we said before, and we've said many times, Nogard certainly could have used some more infestors out. I feel like this has been the only reason that he is going to not win this game. As I said, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a draw right now. But it has been a really interesting game. So quite a few things to take into account if you do get into these long games here, where it just gets into a long, scrappy kind of position. And there it is. Nogard has left the game. I believe we hit the the draw limit there, so Nogard is out, and I believe, yeah, we can see that, yeah, ThunderFury is probably just sitting here saying, wow, I need a drink right now. Someone get me a bourbon, because that has been one of the longest games in history. Thank you all for watching. If you did watch the entire thing, let me know, and I'll, I don't know, I'll give you a shout out in the next video as a thank you for sitting through me ranting about long style games here. But please stay tuned to the channel, of course. I'm going to be having a couple of things coming up regarding the International 3. For those of you who play StarCraft 2 and maybe want to watch some of the International Dota 2 tournament coming up, we're going to have a few videos about that, how you can watch at home, how you can join in, and perhaps also some extra stuff about understanding Dota 2. And of course, more StarCraft 2 coming your way very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. Wall off there coming out from Blisk. He wants to make sure that he is all prepared for this. There is a +1 missile we mentioned before, and Infestation Pit, Hydralisk Den all going down. So it looks as if Patreus is getting prepared for a possible